Hi again, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our educational webinar. We have Bill from Kraken Bookkeeping today. We will be going over all that you need to know at a high level for bookkeeping in your travel business, so you can wrap your arms around it and not be so overwhelmed when it comes to tax season. As we go through, just a couple of housekeeping things. If you're watching this live, please add the Q&A questions or the questions to the Q&A box. The chat's open, so feel free to say hi in there. If you are watching this as a recording after the fact, I will include Bill's email in the summary email that I send out so that you all can follow up with him directly if you have any questions. But otherwise, feel free to take it away, Bill.
And can you see my screen?
We sure can.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bill Lumsden with Kraken Bookkeeping. Let's start out with a little bit about me. Maybe, if this thing cooperates. So that's me and my wife, Helen. We've been married coming up on 35 years. That's my dog, Maggie and Coco. And then in the larger picture, that's me, my wife, my brother, my little sister who now lives in Scotland, my older sister, my mother, and my last commanding officer. So I was in the Navy for 30 years, from 1984 to 2014. That's me getting ready to graduate boot camp. That is me getting the key to the city from Key West. That's my final award. It's my favorite because it looks like bacon. And then that's the wife and I being piped ashore for the final time. After I retired from the Navy, I worked electronics in the Navy. After I retired from the Navy, I went to work for Varian Medical Systems, installing linear accelerators in cancer clinics. And after that, we used lasers to align the patients on the tables. And the laser company hired me away and became installation and service manager for the Americas. That's kind of where I got into tracking costs and doing bookkeeping and that sort of thing. Some other stuff I like to do. I'm a supporter of the Road Warrior Foundation. We take wounded veterans on adventure therapy rides. This particular group we took from Virginia up to Niagara Falls, threw them out of a perfectly good airplane, and then took them over to Bike Week in Laconia, New Hampshire. I love travel. However, I choose the three-wheeled mode. That's me visiting my niece at Annapolis, and John Paul Jones's crypt, me and a couple friends at Niagara Falls. And shortly after we got back from that trip, we turned right around and went to South Dakota. And that is Crazy Horse Memorial. And that is the Geographic Center of the United States. After we had Alaska and Hawaii, and then Devil's Tower in Wyoming, also known as Mashed Potato Mountain, if you're old like me. So at Kraken Bookkeeping, we help small businesses understand how well they're doing with their money. We'll tailor the books for your business. Hopefully your bookkeepers are providing you with monthly reports, your balance sheet, profit and loss, statement of cash flow, and doing a monthly reconciliation of your books. So at the most basic level, good books should answer 5 questions. Am I making money? What do I own? What do I owe? What's left over for me after I pay everyone else? And where did all my cash go? If those 5 questions are answered properly, it will allow you to ask a 6th question, what should I do now? So if you're thinking about expanding or making a major purchase of some type, this will allow you to answer that question, whether or not you can afford it or if you have to finance it. So basic accounting equation, ALE, sadly not ale, so it's not beer. The accounting equation is the financial health of your business and can be summed up in the relationships of your assets to liabilities to owner's equity, also known as capital. Ale, told you it wasn't about beer. The 3 basic elements have a fundamental relationship. It's called the accounting equation. Assets equal liabilities plus equity. Assets are going to be defined as a business economic resources. as a result of post-transaction events. So it's going to be properties that you own, it could be cash, inventory, land, buildings, equipment, and the like, depending on what form of business you're in. Liabilities are the obligations of your business. Those can be things such as notes payable, accounts payable, bonds if you're large enough, mortgages, notes payable on your car, that sort of thing. And equity is basically the residual interest of an asset after you deduct your liabilities, what's left over after everyone else is paid. So for example, if your business has $100,000 worth of assets, but you owe creditors $80,000, you have $20,000 in equity. So the account occasion would be your assets is $100,000, you have $80,000 in liability and $20,000 in equity. Any business event that alters the amount of assets, liabilities, or equity is known as a transaction. And again, while this knowledge nugget was not about beer, ale is an important concept to understand. So some of the benefits of using a bookkeeping service, it's going to provide you increased accuracy and efficiency on your business. It's going to reduce your cost, hopefully by finding you ways to save money. And it'll also improve compliance because as a business, you're supposed to maintain a good set of books. Some of the ways you want to choose a bookkeeping service is going to be experience, cost, although as far as cost goes, remember the $10 a month guy is going to give you $10 a month worth of bookkeeping and services offered. So some folks like to have everything all in one where you're getting your tax, you can have the bookkeeping done and they do your taxes and that sort of thing. I'm of the opinion you should have a bookkeeper and a tax person. That way, at least once a year, you get a second set of eyeballs on your books. So bookkeeping is a process of recording and tracking financial transactions in a business. It's important for travel business keep accurate records of their finances in order to make good financial decisions. Ways we can help you is tracking your income and expenses, help you identify areas where costs can be reduced, make sure you're making your tax payments on time. I know depending on your income, it can be monthly, quarterly, annually, or semi-annually, and also to help you stay compliant with regulations. So we're going to cover the 3 statements that hopefully your bookkeepers are already giving you. I just want to add a quick disclaimer. The following financial reports are fictitious and take from QuickBooks Online sample company. So no company's actual financials were harmed in the making of this presentation. So on your balance sheet, it's going to have 3 sections. First section is your assets. That answers that first question. What do I own? You'll see it has bank accounts, accounts receivable, which is money that's owed to you, other current assets, like if you maintain inventory, or if you have undeposited funds sitting in your drawer that should end up in your bank account. And then also fixed assets would be your building. In this case, it's a truck. And it'll give you your assets total. So that you'll notice that number 23,436.29. That's your A in the accounting equation. Liability is going to be, what do I owe? So that's going to be your accounts payable, your credit cards. You see Arizona Department of Revenue, that's going to be your taxes. If you have a loan, that loan payable is going to be current portion of long-term debt. So in other words, you have a notes payable for $25,000, but over the next 12 months, you have to pay $4,000 on that. So you see your total liabilities is $31,131.33. The last section is your equity section. What is left over after I pay everyone else? So you have an opening balance equity of negative or $9,337.50. And then you see the totals of liability and equity equals your assets. So 23,436 and 23,436. Your next statement is your profit and loss statement. This is your am I making money? So basically it's broken down. If you look at the top section, you'll see gives you total income for the month and all the different ways you had money coming in: design, landscaping, pest control, sales of product and services. And that's your total income for the month. Cost of goods sold is $405. That's basically what did it cost you to make that money. For example, a restaurant, they buy the food at wholesale, change it up and make a delicious dinner. And that's the retail, but whatever the initial cost is what your cost of goods sold is going to be. That gives you your gross profit. And then you'll subtract all your expenses, your advertising, automobile, rentals, legal professional fees, maintenance, repair, and the like. That'll give you total expenses. Once those are deducted, that is your net operating income. Other miscellaneous expenses are usually for like one-off type things that you might buy. For example, you may need to just, maybe you had to go out and buy printer cartridges or something along those lines. Those may fall under miscellaneous expense or office supplies. So once you deduct all of that, you end up with your net income at the very bottom of $1,642.46 on your profit and loss. Next statement you're going to get is statement of cash flows. This is going to answer the final question: where did all my cash go? You'll notice you have your net income of $1,642 from the previous statement. You have accounts receivable that are out. You have inventory. You have accounts payable, which is money you owe, credit cards, your Arizona Department of Revenue, and loans. So your total adjustments to reconcile net income to net cash provided by operations is $253. So your net cash provided by operating activities is $1,800 or $1,896.02. Investing activities, those are going to be your long-term loans and that sort of thing. So when you bought that truck, it became an asset, and the original cost of the truck was $13,495. Finance activity is your notes payable. So that's the loan you took out. And then opening balance equity is the negative 9,337. So your net cash provided by financing activities is $15,662.50. Your net cash increase for the period is going to be $4,063.52. So you may be wondering, should I hire a bookkeeper? Some of the folks who should would be small businesses, newer businesses. If you can learn good habits early, it makes life a lot easier. Busy professionals, some folks are just swamped and they don't have time to do it. Or maybe they're spending their weekends and holidays doing their books instead of goofing off and hanging out with their family like they should be. I know everyone loves doing their books, but apparently some people out there don't. So there's also going to be people who are unsure what their books should look like. They know they should be doing them, but they're not really sure what they should look like. And then people who should have a bookkeeper but don't. Usually the guy that has the shopping bag full of receipts that they bring to their tax person at the beginning of the year, every year. If they just stayed on top of it, it's very simple. Their bookkeeper prints them out, their profit and loss for the year, their statements for the year. They take it to the tax person, and the tax person can do their thing. Some things you should think about. Do you like your bookkeeper? Do you talk to them regularly? Or do you just get a statement in your email once a month and that's it? You don't hear from them except for paying their invoice. If you do your books yourself, are you behind? And the most important question is, doing the books for your business the best use of your time and talents? Because a chef, he gets into the restaurant business because he likes cooking. He doesn't get into the restaurant business because he likes doing books, paying taxes, or all that other good stuff. So in conclusion, bookkeeping is going to be essential to the success of any travel business. By keeping accurate records and using a bookkeeping service, travel businesses can save time, money, and we can help you make a better financial decisions. And that's that. And that is about it.
Thank you, Bill. I know this is short and sweet. We're trying to keep it very succinct for it being a fairly dry topic. So we didn't want to put anybody to sleep. So thank you, everybody, for joining. If you have questions about bookkeeping, using a bookkeeper, using any other programs, feel free to add them to the Q&A box so that we can get them answered for you live. If you have questions or just comments rather, feel free to add them to the chat box and we can chat about it that way too. But while we wait for a couple of questions, if we have any, Bill, just a couple of questions that I have about doing bookkeeping. So as travel advisors, we obviously travel quite a bit. When we're tracking our expenses for our own travel, how much of that should be marked as business expenses?
It depends. Are you on vacation or are you on a discovery trip, like sponsored by someone?
I mean, honestly, it probably happens both ways, because a lot of times we will do a work trip in conjunction to a family trip. But then there's also the times where we go do a familiarization trip where we're going specifically for work or we're cruising to get content for the cruise.
Right. So the specific to work should be a business expense. If you go and you accompany it as a family vacation, your stuff is business. If it is in fact a true business trip and you just brought your family along, but the family is vacation, so that would not be a deductible type expense.
So basically it would come out along the lines of, like, if there's a family of 4, just to keep things simple, 25% of the total cost could be a business expense versus 100% if it's just us traveling for a fam trip.
Correct.
Awesome. And kind of along the same lines, meals. How do we record meals? Because I know there's the 50%, the 100%, and it's always confusing when you're doing taxes for that part.
Meals are tricky. If it's local, meals are usually not deductible. But if it's like on a trip, like out of town, those meals, as long as they're business related, should be deductible.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And questions, again, if anyone has them, we have plenty of time for any questions. I know this is a complex topic, and we did a fairly high overview, so we didn't get too deep into the weeds with this. Now,
Did I put them all to sleep?
or yeah, let us know that you're still awake in the chat. Now, using as small business owners, Catherine, I see you're raising your hand. I'm guessing you're awake, and that helps. And Claire's asking about mileage. So how do we track mileage and how do we work with that?
So mileage, business related mileage can be deducted. I think the new rate is like 63 cents a mile at this point. If you're using QuickBooks Online, they have a QuickBooks Online app, and I I have that turned on and it automatically tracks my mileage. And then you just have to say whether it's a personal trip or a business trip, and then it covers it. It'll do the deduction or the math as far as what you can deduct for that trip.
Yeah, I use another one that I found. It tracks everything pretty well. And then it's just like, because when we're traveling, like driving to the airport for a business trip, that's a business expense. But what a lot of people may not think about is the drive to a business meeting, like if you're in a networking group, or if you're in a going to the lunch and learns that Avalon's holding later this month, or whoever has it. Those would be classified as business mileage expenses, right?
Correct. If it's business related, it's business mileage.
Good. I hope that answered the question for you, Clara. And who's, sorry, I lost the name of the person raising their hand. Kathy, do you want to jump into the chat if you're asking a question? And while you do that, so speaking of QuickBooks, so when you're a small business owner, most of us probably use a online software, which when we work with an actual bookkeeper, do you use that same software or do you use something else?
I use QuickBooks Online. Basically what it is, if you guys have QuickBooks Online, you can send an invite to your accountant, and then I can pull up your books on my accountant version, and I can go in and make adjustments and categorize and do all that stuff for them as needed.
It's super easy. Keeps everything super simple, and you don't have to worry about having multiple programs that we're all trying to run.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it, because everyone has their preferred method. I have some people who work off Excel spreadsheets, which I'm not a fan of, but that's how they want to do it. That's how they want to do it. And then I'll go in and make I'll usually share it like through Google Sheets or something like that, and then I can go in and kind of see what's legit and see what's wishful thinking on their part.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we can wrap up a little early. If you have any questions after the fact, I'll include Bill's email. Feel free to reach out to him. If you need somebody to help work through your bookkeeping, if it's a mess, reach out to Bill and he can help streamline it for you, help get you put onto the right path. If you just have general questions about doing bookkeeping, he's happy to answer the questions as well, as I'm volunteering him for it. But otherwise, thank you all very much for coming in today. Our next session is next Tuesday, so the 18th. It will be our supplier spotlight of the month with Hilton. I will have this posted on YouTube here as soon as the video finishes processing, and I have some time to get it uploaded and the email typed out. We also do have an up and coming chapter website where everything will be hosted in a members only session or section, so that everyone can take a look at all of the previous recordings that we've had. But thank you very much for attending, and Bill, thank you so much for giving us your time today and giving us an overview about bookkeeping.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yes. Have a great day, everyone. Happy week.